Hello and welcome to today's episode of Two Pigs in a Pod, a podcast for the people of Glazing by the people of Glazing. I'm George, your host, and I'm delighted to welcome onto the show today Richard Hammond. Welcome to the show, Richard.
Hi, George. Thanks for having me. Yeah, good morning. Are you okay? You all good?
All good, thank you very much. So, as we always do with our show, is for let guests introduce themselves and what they do. But we can already see your badge on your shirt. So, who are you and what do you
Loud and proud, mate. Yeah, good morning. I'm Richard Hammond. I'm sales director at Universal Trade Frames. Um, as a role, I oversee the company's sales and marketing strategy and have overall responsibility for delivering profitable growth and the EBITDA numbers to the shareholders.
Nice. And taking it back to the start of your career, how did you get into our wonderful world of glazing?
Well, my first job really was as a teenager. I did a bit of door to door knocking, cold
Nice.
call selling. Um, Not
Yeah.
quite white gold era. It was the 90s, not the 80s, but there was a little bit of that going on at the time.
Yeah.
It wasn't part of the career plan then. It was just a way of earning some money to buy a motorbike as a teenager. So that's where it
Nice.
started. But at the time, I was a trainee engineer and I went and did engineering for 15 years and then returned to the industry 2006
Okay.
with Mila Hardware, which are a well-known supplier in the industry, and I've been in the industry ever since.
Nice. And did it get you that motorbike, that door to door knocking?
It did, yeah. It got me
Good.
settled, yeah.
Nice, nice.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so to speak, going back to the start, obviously you said you started off by doing the sales role for but did you know anything about the glazing sector? Had you heard about the white gold like you said in the 80s when you started doing it?
Well, I got an uncle who was a window manufacturer in the 80s, really
Yeah,
genuinely was in the industry then when it was in its heyday. So I wasn't completely oblivious to it, and I think that probably drew me to it when I was a teenager. And then coming into Mila, 15 years later, I'd moved away by then. I'd been doing engineering. I didn't really associate myself with the industry at all at that
yeah.
point. So really, it was like a clean start at that stage.
Nice. And what did your uncle say about the industry from the conversations you had? Did he say much about what it was like for you to go one way or another?
Well, he was a sales director in that period, and I'd seen him get the big house and the flash car. He had the nice Audi, so for me, it was like that's a place that you can do well in. Looked like a good thing to do, but I was always had a technical mindset, and so my engineering aspirations had taken over by then, and I really wanted to knuckle down and get into engineering, which I did successfully for 15 years. So it was good.
And what brought you back to the industry? Obviously, it was a different part of the industry, but how comes you ended up back at Mila 15 years later?
Well, I'd emigrated as part of engineering and to South Africa, moved back to the UK then some years later, and had settled into a project management type role. Um, in delivering projects, I found myself talking to customers and becoming more of a sales orientated person than a project management type person. Um, that particular role came to an end, and I was looking for a new opportunity and decided to lean more on the sales thing because I'd been enjoying it. Opportunity came up through an agency to join Mila. I interviewed well and got the position. So that's where it came full circle.
Nice. And what were your first impressions once you started at Mila and started in the glazing sector again? What was your sort of impressions from what you had learned from previously to what it is when you started 15 years later?
Yeah. So for me, I think the most obvious thing was it felt more regulated. I think that's a good thing overall. Social media had become a thing which wasn't there before. Review platforms, Trust a Trader and all that kind of thing just didn't exist back then. So it puts people more accountable for their actions and their reputation. And overall, then I think that's made the sector a much more professional place to be living in, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And what's led you to go to Universal Trade Frames? How did you end up there, and sort of what is the role now?
I suppose it's a nice little story. I suppose. So from the sidelines, Universal had always looked like a well-run business, a credible, a professional outfit with a strong reputation. An opportunity came up in late 2023 following the change of ownership.
Hmm.
And then I got the chance to look behind the curtain, if you know what I mean. What's backstage, and backstage was exactly what I thought it would be, a really well
Nice.
structured organisation. And the new ownership had brought about a renewed sense of ambition, and they were looking for someone to lead from the front, as it were.
Yeah,
And for me, it just felt like the right fit. It's somewhere where I felt I could genuinely add value, and that's what's rewarding in a role, isn't it? When you feel that you're doing
absolutely.
making a
Yeah.
difference.
Yeah. And speaking of that proudness, have you had any sort of proud achievements or milestones you've reached in the few years you've been at Universal?
Yeah, that most definitely. I think the the proudest achievement, the proudest moment was Fit Show
Yeah.
2025. That was the culmination, really, of over a year's worth of work from the start at the beginning of 2024. We'd um, modernised the branding. We've developed and launched a new website. We'd brought the residence collection into the portfolio and launched that at the show. Um, we introduced the first of what is now two new sales team members to the
Nice.
audience,
Brilliant.
part of the growing sales team that I now lead. Um, yeah, overall, that was the culmination then of lots of individual proud moments. The branding
Yeah.
was, the branding's good, the website's good, the product launch is amazing, but that was where it all came together, and that's probably
Nice.
the single most important point. Yeah.
Yeah. And do you feel like that being at Fit Show has given you that confidence in not only yourself but the brand to to do all these things now and to go into, we know that the market's struggling at certain points, but for you and your that the Fit Show was sort of that jump start that you needed, that you've sort of, yeah, you've ended up having a really good year with investments in, obviously, like you said, team members and websites and whatnot.
Yeah, I'm lucky to be part of a forward-thinking business. It's like I said to you, it's well run, it's well organised. We've we are fortunate enough to be able to do the things like Fit Show. They do cost
Yeah.
money,
Yeah. Yeah.
but on the flip side, I think that the businesses that are pushing forward are the ones that will continue to survive because we're taking market share. That's
Yeah.
being blunt about it, but
Absolutely. Yeah.
we're present and in people's minds, and we are getting those inquiries that come through the door because they've seen us, they've heard about us. We've got trust and reliability built in because we're 30 years old. So we're not a new face that people are taking a chance on. We're an established
Well
brand,
established.
but with a renewed face, if you know what I mean, a fresh face and
Yeah.
like I say, renewed ambition. I think it's the right way to phrase it.
Nice. And we speak to all different kinds of people on our podcast, from
Can you imagine?
roles in sales and marketing and everything in between. So
Yeah.
people that are potentially looking to get into our sector, or want to become a sales director one day, what does your normal day, if that's ever a normal day in your life, what does a normal day entail for you?
Yeah, well, it's never the same every day, I suppose. That's the first thing, isn't it? I don't podcast every day, or I don't sit in a sales meeting every day. But overall, I think a typical day would involve overseeing sales performance or managing a key account, meeting with a customer, meeting with a supplier, doing some data analysis, setting a target, coordinating with production on lead times to deliver, the on time in full message well, guiding or managing a sales team member, you know, um, maybe attending a management meeting or ensuring the business stays competitive on pricing, that kind of thing. It's a very varied role. Um,
Is that a good thing for you? Do you like that varied, different thing every day?
I remember being a young person thinking the guy at the top just gets everybody else to do the work, and actually get to the you get to the position of importance, and you realise you're the busiest person in the team. It's that overall sense of responsibility I take for my role and for the delivery of the metrics that I'm tested on. If you know what I mean, I've got a job to do.
And what would you say are the key roles? Like you said, you're doing lots of different things. There's all of the things that you've just said are not all the same. You don't need the same skills for you need different skills for all of them. But what would you say, in your opinion, what would be the key skills for someone to become, or to work in sales, or to become a sales director in the future?
I think so. Sales director in its own right isn't necessarily. You've got lots of transferable skills. You could take a lot of what I do and put it into a different industry. But in our industry, I think one of the key things that shines through is product knowledge. We have this perception that it's just windows and doors, but actually there's a lot of compliance, there's a lot of regulation, there's a lot of things that can go wrong. Strong product knowledge is fundamental to the role that I have within the business, and getting high value products right means understanding them at an intricate level. So product knowledge is right up there. Leadership's really important, obviously, giving the team clear direction, motivating the team, keeping them driven and feel rewarded. I think overall strategies sort of an umbrella thing, really, but without strategy, you're kind of aiming. What's your north star? You haven't got one. So having clear view on what your strategy is paramount, and it leads the way, backed up then by the product knowledge and leadership. Definitely negotiation. I spend a lot of time negotiating, whether it's can you do a better deal on this job for our customer, or can I buy better with the supply chain? Can I get it quicker? Can the customer accept it later, or whatever? There's lots of negotiation every day. That's an important part, but it's all centered. All of that is pointless if you don't have customers, and if we're not customer focused, we might as well not have a business. So customer comes first. Cliched maybe, but it's the ground rules. It's the ground rules. If the customers don't feel valued, they're going to find somewhere that they are, and they'll stay because they feel valued. And I like to try to make our customers feel important, feel valued, feel heard. We don't always get things right, so it's about listening when things go wrong, putting them right quickly, reacting the way that you should. So yeah,
And do you think you've learnt that over the years to be, obviously, that the customer, you want to have a good relationship with everyone in the industry, customers or suppliers or colleagues or whatnot. But do you feel like you've learnt that over the years? Some people might be listening to say, well, I'm not really good with speaking to people. Do you feel like the more you learn about the products, like you said, and more about the industry as a whole, you sort of get that confidence to be able to have a chat with anyone in our industry?
yeah, definitely. I'll misquote it, so I won't try and get it right. But I was listening to another podcast, a business podcast, Stephen Bartlett's Diary of a CEO, and he was talking about some 5 buckets, and I can only remember the first one is knowledge. No one can take that away from you, no matter what happens. I think one of them's reputation and all that kind of stuff. But you earn your knowledge over time. You gain it by putting the time and the effort into learning the things that you want to be specialist about. And yeah, so behind that then comes confidence, because if you know what you're talking about, it's easier. You're not just winging it. With that comes a sense of authority. You can command a room, or you can get people to understand and take your viewpoint. All that kind of thing builds off knowledge. And for me, knowledge was the first part. And I suppose being an engineer, being technical in the background, led me to the nuts and bolts. I know what size screw holds a friction state in. It mattered to me. Whether it matters to everyone, it doesn't matter, but it mattered to me. So yeah, knowledge is key, and definitely it's a learning process. And I don't think you ever stop learning. I genuinely think I've learned just as much in the last 18 months at Universal as I probably learned in the prior 5 years, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I think that's important, isn't it? To never stop learning, never feel like you're the sort of the finished product. I think we know that our sector is changing all the time, so you
Yeah.
can't be the finished product when the world is changing around us.
If anybody thinks they're the finished product, they're just not being humble enough to be honest, because you will learn something tomorrow you didn't know yesterday. And if you
Definitely. And speaking of those people, has there been anyone in your career that sort of inspired you or motivated you to get where you are now?
That first influence of an uncle becoming a successful sales director in the
Yeah,
industry resonates with me more today than it did at the time. If you know what I mean, he's retired now and all that kind of thing. But I definitely I talk to him now as a sales director of a window company, and it's an interesting conversation of how things have
yeah,
changed. So that was an initial point of influence, I suppose. Um, since the Mila start in the industry, the continuous service to the industry in 2006, and he said 2026 then. In 2006, I was in the supply chain, as I said, Mila Hardware, and I was supplying Solidor, who from 2006 through to the mid-teens went through a dramatic growth period,
yeah.
culminating in their acquisition of the Residence Collection and Window Widgets, and then obviously exiting to Masonite Group.
Hmm.
And behind the scenes there, you've got people like Gareth Mobley and Pierre Misfood,
Yeah.
um, who who to this day are still successful, and no surprise there's a connection to Gareth Mobley with Universal. They are or were in that period of time inspirational in so much as seeing what good business looks like,
Mm.
what good customer service looks like, what growth looks like, how to stay humble along the way, So yeah, definitely the Solidor guys, really.
Nice. And do you feel like you could be the motivation, or the for the next generation? And so maybe at Universal, I know you say you want to be humble, and I know you are very humble. But do you feel like you're now in a position in your career where you can start giving that sort of advice, or showing how you do your thing for the next generation of potential, sales directors of Universal in the future?
Um, I suppose that sounds flattering to me for you to say it that way round. In the real world, I've got two guys that work for me now that do come to me and ask me questions and look up to me for some guidance. One in particular is a lot younger than the other and is fairly new to the industry and new to sort of area sales management and all that kind of thing. So there is some coaching that's going on a more regular basis, and perhaps I'm positively influencing an individual. If I'm making a difference for one person, then that's great.
Yeah, nice. And speaking of Universal, what kind of trends are you seeing? From what's going out the front door to people around the country. What are you seeing from homeowners?
Yeah, well, I think the sector as a whole has seen, the last 5 years perhaps has seen a huge rise in the demand for flush
Yeah.
in PVC sector. Residents leading the way with that and being the first system that was designed to be flush. Got a particular passion for the brand. I think it's a great product, and it's why it's part of our portfolio today. We can't ignore the strong comeback from the aluminium sector.
Hmm.
Aluminium was what windows were after wood, and that's now massive resurgence driven by the bifold door and sliding door market. But I think we're selling a lot of this slimline heritage aluminium these days, and that's a on vogue part of the market, isn't it?
Yeah.
Particularly, and what we've seen, and I'm sure you're aware of, is obviously people that would be usually selling products that would be on the outside of the building, the external window and door. We're
Yeah.
now selling internal windows, internal screens, internal doors as well, which we never used to do.
Yeah.
I've not sold an internal glazing screen until 2024.
No. Yeah.
It just didn't happen. But people like Origin and Smart have developed really nice systems that work
Mm.
inside and out. So we're getting more
Yeah.
value out of a deal, if you know what I mean. The opportunities there to upsell. But I think that so that's market as a whole. But I think the latest. Have you seen these new triple glazed initiatives with the razor
Yeah.
thin
Yeah.
centre
Yeah.
pane? That's really pricked my ears up. I think that's the next big thing potentially that might rock. the industry in a positive way, and perhaps serves a way of us achieving lower U values within the
Yeah.
constraints of the existing extrusions that we're all bound by.
Yeah. Nice. And what would you say, as the company as a whole distinguishes Universal from the rest of? Would you say it is the products that you have? Like you say, you've just rolled off a few, really strong people within our sector. Do you think
Yeah,
having them all under sort of one roof is what distinguishes you from the competition?
partly, yeah, sure. There's two sort of things I think that perhaps pull us apart from others. Yeah, one of our, jumping ahead a little bit perhaps, but one of our G Award nominations is for our single source supply model. What we've done there is consider what's important to installers. We manufacture lots of things that lots of other manufacturers won't make, and that just simplifies the supply chain to the installer, giving them more time to focus on their job. But then I suppose what keeps us in front of other people is our sort of forward thinking approach. So just to give you a couple of examples, we were the first business to put Yale's sense check on the residence opening door, the new opening door entrance door, and then we've been the first to market with the trade version of the door designer, the residence door designer. That's gone live on our website. So being first to market is important, but it just keeps your nose, above the wall. It keeps you ahead of the competition.
Yeah, nice. And speaking of that G Award that you said about that's coming up at the end of the month, I know you won't want to say about potentially winning, or you might do, but how does it feel just to be, a finalist for that? Is it something that really sort of motivates you and the rest of Universal?
Yeah, it was a fantastic feeling to get nominated. I talked about the culmination of the hard work being delivered at Fit Show, really bringing all of
Yeah,
the things that we'd worked on. That led to us, going for or considering entering a nomination for G Awards, and then to get recognised for some of the initiatives that we'd brought to fruition. Win or lose, uh, it's the first time the business has got to the G Awards.
yeah,
Really proud of that. I've been in post just over 18 months at this stage, so to get us from, I won't say relative ambiguity. I think Universal was well enough known, but to get
yeah, yeah.
from where we were to where we are today, I'm immensely proud.
Nice. And has it given you the taste to potentially, go for or to be nominated for more awards now that you've got that first one under your belt? Is potential for future?
Yeah, definitely. Like I say, win or lose, but everybody
Yeah,
wants to win, don't they? So, yeah,
yeah, yeah.
I'm a salesman. I've got a competitive edge. If we don't win this year, we'll have lost to fair competition, but it won't
Yeah.
stop me pursuing the next step up the rung.
Nice. And looking ahead, what's next for Universal? Have you got anything that you're allowed to say of what's coming up, into next year or the end of this year that you're looking forward to?
Well, we're consolidating on the hard work that's gone in as we run up to Christmas. We've signed off on a new marketing initiative for January. So I don't want to tell you about that specifically, but just to say that there is one. It's this continuation of never standing still. We have to keep pushing forward, and there is a new marketing initiative for January, which is really exciting. I can't wait to bring it to market.
Nice. And going back to yourself, if you're looking back on your career or speaking to your younger self, what would you tell that it was all good and you've done well, or what would you say to yourself? What advice would you give yourself?
Yeah, I'm not going to complain about where I've ended up. So I've made some decisions right along the way, but I think I considered this question a little bit, and I think what I'd say to myself is learn to say no.
Yeah,
Uh,
nice.
what I mean by that is saying yes to everything makes you busy, keeps you
Yeah,
feeling important, fills your diary up, and all that kind of thing. But I think it dilutes a little bit of focus. I tell myself to concentrate on the areas where I could make a difference.
nice. And for those that want to get in touch with you or get in touch with Universal, how do they get in touch?
Yeah, so I think well, follow us on LinkedIn. I think it's the first step. We've got a newsletter on there. The company profile is Universal Trade Frames Limited. We post regular content on there in the newsletter, which can subscribe to. Obviously, our website, new website, utfl.co.uk. It's a great resource for everything window and door. Happy to chat. Pick up the phone. Phone number 01743 442244. And then sales@utfl.co.uk if you just want to drop us a line.
Nice, perfect. Well, thank you very much, Richard, for that. That's the main
Pleasure.
part done. So we now move on to our quick fire question round, which I know you've seen
Right.
a few of our episodes now, so you know what's about to come. But yeah, for
Go
those
for
that
it.
are listening to you for the first time, it's just quick fire questions. It's one word, one sentence answer, and yeah, first thing that comes to your head. So
Okay.
yeah, speaking from to a salesperson, would you prefer talking over email or by phone or in person? As we always like to ask.
In person would be preferable, but it's just not practical. So second best is on the phone, and then but there's traceability, so we need email as well. I think it's a culmination of all three.
Nice. Are you a morning person or a night owl? Are you sort of first in the office or last one to leave?
I'm the night owl.
Yeah, me too. What's your go-to comfort food, or cuisine, whatever it may be? What's your go-to
Or
food?
yeah, the comfort food answers pizza. That jumped straight into my head.
Yeah, that's it's a regular answer we get on our podcast, and it's one I'd always say yes to.
Yeah, I'm not a bad cook. I like cooking, but
Okay,
yeah, straight out pizza, quick and easy, job done. Love
easy.
it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and good, which has always helped. What's your favorite thing to do outside of work? Like you say, cooking, is that your main thing you do outside of work? Is there anything else that you like doing?
Uh, a keen guitar player, play a lot of
Yeah,
guitar.
nice.
So music's a big part of my, you know, outside work life. Like
Yeah,
live music. I play live music. I enjoy guitar. So,
nice. And speaking of music, then, what's the first gig that you ever attended and the last gig you attended?
first gig. I went to gigs quite young as a boy and a teenager, but with my parents and things like
Yeah,
that. And I was playing live music back then, so I was in gigs
amazing.
as a teenager.
Yeah,
But the one that sticks out, the first time I went to a big concert arena gig without parents, if you know what I mean,
yeah,
was to see Def Leppard
nice,
at the NEC in Birmingham. So yeah, that's got a special place.
nice. And what's the last one you attended recently?
So I saw a local cover band just last weekend, and then in the week before that, I saw a bluegrass band called Hayseed Dixie.
Nice. What would be one thing that you can't live without?
Oh, family, daughter, wife, kids, dog.
Always good to get it on a recording to say family. Yeah. And lastly, which is one we've just added into our podcast, and if you could swap roles with anyone in Universal for a day, who would it be and why?
Wow, that's a good question, isn't it? Uh, that's an interesting question. Who would I swap with? I'd swap with the driver for the day.
Oh,
I'd
nice.
like,
Yeah.
I'd like to go and see what you know. I don't get to see. We're a national business, so you don't see everyone. I think I'd like
Yeah.
to swap with the driver. I think I'd get in the van and I'd go and meet a few more people.
Nice. Perfect. Well, for the last part of our podcast, we like to get our guests to give a shout out. It can be to friends and family, like you just said, or people in the industry or out the industry. So, who are your shout out or shout outs for?
The wider team at Universal, they all uh, I've got a huge amount of respect for all of them. Duncan and Brian, Gareth Mobley mentoring me in the early days and giving me the opportunity at Universal. Got a lot of respect for those people there. So yeah, all good.
Perfect. Well, thank you very much for joining us on Two Pigs in the Pod today, Richard. It was great to
Pleasure.
obviously speak to you again and find out about you and your career and a bit more about your, life outside of work, which is not always what we get in, the time we spend together at events and whatnot.
No,
Perfect. Well, thank you very much again, Richard. And that's it for today. So you can join us for another episode soon, but you can find Richard's episode and all our others on our YouTube channel at People in Glazing Society. on our website, www.peopleinglazing.co.uk, and also available to download on Spotify, Amazon Music, and Apple Podcasts. And don't forget to like and subscribe so you never miss an episode. So once again, thanks to Richard for joining us, and see you again soon.
Thank you. Goodbye.